Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Hello and welcome to this video. Today we are starting the first Rabbits novel by Terry Miles. These videos are going to be because it's a novel and it doesn't have the episode breaks like the 2 seasons of Rabbits did. So I'm going to just kind of go until I find a place that I'm comfortable stopping, and we'll, see how things go from there. And so, without further ado, let's jump into this novel.
Penguin Random House Audio presents Rabbits by Terry Miles. Read for you by Christine Lakin.
I kind of think it's good to have the credits in there for the people doing the work just because they deserve it. They've done the work for our enjoyment, so.
All your life you live so close to truth. It becomes a permanent blur in the corner of your eye. And when something nudges it into outline, it is like being ambushed by a grotesque. A man standing in his saddle in the half-lit, half-alive dawn, banged on the shutters and called 2 names.
That's kind of cool way to open in it. It just verbally, when you listen to it, it sounds pretty cool. When you're reading it, you got to come up with your own voice. But this is one of those occasions where having a voice put to it is kind of cool.
He was just a hat and a cloak, levitating in the gray plume of his own breath. But when he called, we came. That much is certain. We came. Tom Stoppard, Rosencrantz, and Guildenstern are dead.
Yeah, that's just a pretty cool quote.
I first came across the game in 1983. My game theory professor took me to visit the site of the original laundromat in Seattle.
That's kind of cool. I think they've referenced it in season 1 in one of the first few episodes.
The laundromat is no longer there, of course, but if you ask the manager of the restaurant that currently occupies the space, she might take you into the office in the back and let you see part of the original room. And if you order a big meal and tip the waitstaff well, she might even remove the large modernist painting that hangs above the fireplace and show you the graphic of the rabbit on the wall.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Some true stories are easier to accept if you can convince yourself that at least part of them are fictional. This is one of those stories.
Yeah, and coming right off the heels of season 2, it may not be so fictional.
Shalini Adams Prescott, 2021. Chapter 1. The Scene in the Magician's Arcade.
Yeah, I love this novel because we get a lot of the magician in this novel where he's kind of a background character in season 1, season 2. In the novel, he plays a little bit bigger role, and I'm happy for him. I mean, some of the stuff he goes through, but spoilers.
What do you know about the game? The smiles vanished from the assembled collection of conspiracy hounds and deep web curiosity seekers. Their private conversations stopped mid-sentence, their phones quickly stashed into a variety of backpacks and pockets. each of them doing their best to look cool and disaffected while unconsciously leaning forward, ears straining, eyes bright with anxious anticipation. This was, after all, why they were here.
Yeah. From my understanding and the timeline, this takes place a few years, 3 or 4 years after, no, maybe longer than that. Then I think it tells us in the book when when season 2 ended and when this version of the game kicks off.
This was what they came for, what they always came for. This was the thing they spoke about in inelegant, lengthy rambles in their first Tor browser web forum experience. The thing they'd first stumbled upon in a private subreddit.
Yes, Tor browsers are real, and if you want to play with one, do it at your own risk, because you're going to find stuff out there you probably don't want to find. I've played with Tor browsers on my Linux laptop, and yeah, you got to be real careful out there with that.
Or a deep web blog run by a lunatic specializing in underground conspiracies, both unusual and rare. This was the thing that itched your skull, that gnawed at the part of your brain that desperately wanted to believe in something more.
Yeah, that part of your brain. My eyes keep itching. I think it's the weather. This hot for 3 or 4 days and raining for 3 or 4 days and, 100 degrees for 3. Yeah, that just gets annoying. But yeah, like I was saying, with this being a novel and not a podcast, it's a little, the storytelling's a little different. Because we're not confined to, and I've got something bugging the piss out of me. You've got this whole thing going on, and you get a lot more perspective besides a in-studio podcast edited together.
This was the thing that made you venture out in the middle of the night in the pouring rain to visit a pizza joint / video arcade that probably would have been condemned decades ago had anybody cared enough to inspect it.
Yeah, I think every town and city, especially your big cities, like Houston, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, all have buildings like that.
You came because this mysterious something felt different. This was that one inexplicable experience in your life. The UFO you and your cousin saw from that canoe on the lake that summer. The apparition you'd seen standing at the foot of your bed when you woke in the middle of the night on your 8th birthday.
No. I've seen some weird shit out in the woods, camping and stuff. But I've never seen any apparitions, unfortunately. Or fortunately, I don't know. Don't actually think they exist, but that's just me.
This was the electric shiver up your spine, just after your older brother locked you in the basement and turned out the light.
That I have no reference for, because in Texas we don't have basements. Or at least in Southeast Texas we don't have basements.
This was the wild hair up your ass, as my grandfather used to say.
I know that it's supposed to be some kind of recruitment test. NSA? CIA, maybe?
Said a young woman in her early 20s. She'd been here last week. She didn't ask any questions during that presentation, but after, in the parking lot, she'd stopped me and asked about fractals, and if I thought they might be related to sacred geometry.
Fractals are cool. Fractals are really cool when you're intoxicated, by the way.
I did. Or the elaborate conspiracy work of John Lilly. I did not. She didn't ask me anything about the thing directly. It was always like this.
I wonder why. I guess, I don't know. It's this takes place in Seattle. Maybe the people in Seattle aren't as direct and forward as people say here in Texas. I don't know.
Questions about the game were most often received as whispers online, or delivered in a crowd of like-minded conspiracy nuts in safe spaces like comic shops or the arcade.
Hey, you know, a good comic shop is, you know, a good comic shop or a good game store. You know, like where people play D&D and stuff like that. Those two places, you can find out and learn from people from just insanely different backgrounds. They're pretty cool. If you have one around in your area, kind of go be a fly on the wall. Then slowly get to know the people. You'll find that there's some very, very distinct and diverse backgrounds to the people that frequent these places. It's awesome.
Out in the real world, talking about it made you feel exposed, like you were standing too close to something dangerous, leaning out just a bit too far on the platform while listening to the rumble of the approaching train.
It's a good feeling, though. I mean, it's kind of weird, but at the same time, it's kind of refreshing. Just kind of that terror of knowing, kind of, I guess.
The game was the train. Thousands of people have died while playing, said a thin, red-headed man in his early 30s. They sweep these things under the fucking rug, like they never happened.
Yeah. That happens, though. That anybody with power, anybody with enough money and enough power can do it. Well, money gives you the power. If you have enough money, you have the power. That's just the way the world works.
There are a number of theories, I said, like I'd said 1,000 times before. And yes, some people do believe that there have been deaths related to the game. Why do you call it the game?
Because I forgot. There's actually a reason, but I forgot what it is right offhand.
And not by its proper name. The woman who'd spoken was in a wheelchair. I'd seen her here a few times. She was dressed like a librarian from the 50s, glasses hanging around her neck on a beaded chain. Her name was Sally Berkman. She ran the most popular Dungeons & Dragons game in town, original advanced D&D.
Call back to my 80s childhood. Feels good sometimes.
Phones and all other electronics in the box, I said, ignoring Sally's question. They loved it when I played it up, made everything feel more dangerous, more underground. Everyone stepped forward and placed their phones, laptops, and whatever other electronics they had with them into a large cedar chest on the floor.
Yeah, I think I would have left mine in the car. I don't think I would have trusted it in a box with other people, but, you know, I'm a little bit paranoid that way. And this looks like a good place to stop for this video. We'll get deeper into it as we get to the videos. Any thoughts, opinions, ideas, guesses what might happen? If you want to, put them in the comments below. So, this is it. For this first episode of the novel. Everyone be safe, take care, be a good human, be good to other humans. Peace.